Ayo, back at it again with another video. Thank you all for watching. I greatly appreciate it. So, I compiled the averages for the conferences in college basketball according to Kenpom. So, Kenpom is one of my favorite websites to use. I love numbers and data and statistics and analytics and all that. So, what I did is in each year the conferences are ranked according to Kenpom, which I'll show you in just a second. So, Kenpom has been recording data since 1997, so we almost have 30 years of data for college basketball. So, on average, the Big Ten is ranked on average 2.86, and they are ranked the highest, number one. The Big 12 is ranked on average 2.93, the ACC 3.13, the Big East 3.76, the SEC 3.96. We have a tie between the American and the Mountain West at 7.92. The Atlantic 10 is ranked on average 8.80 according to Kenpom. The Missouri Valley is ranked 10.43. The West Coast Conference ranked 11.20. Conference USA, an average ranking of 11.26. The WAC, on average, has a ranking of 14.26. The MAC, 14.40. The Horizon League, 15.30. The Coastal, I think they just changed their name from Colonial to Coastal Athletic Association, 15.93. The Big West at 17.30. The Sun Belt at 17.80. The Metro Atlantic at 19.43. We do have another tie, the Summit League and the Ivy League, both at 19.76 as an average conference ranking per year according to Kenpom. The SoCon at 20.03, the Big Sky at 21.06, the Ohio Valley at 23.26, America East at 24.63, the Patriot League at 24.80, the A-Sun 24.93, the Southland Conference 25.60, the Big South 25.90, the Northeast Conference 27.36, the MEAC at 30.43, and the SWAC at 31.36. So currently there are 31 conferences. The PAC is in the middle of a rebuilding process. They are taking their Gonzaga from the West Coast Conference, so that's going to be a big basketball addition for them. And then 5 schools from the Mountain West, plus Texas State from the Sun Belt. So the PAC is in the middle of a rebuilding process. So currently there is no data for the PAC on Kenpom because technically they haven't been a basketball conference for the past 2 seasons. Maybe 3. I think it's just 2. But so far, these are the averages for each of the 31 conferences. So this is on average, and I will show you the spreadsheet that I made in just a second. So your top 10 basketball conferences, I added the PAC down in the corner because if there were the averages for the PAC on Kenpom at the moment, they would for sure be a top 10 conference. So on average, the Big Ten is ranked 2.86 in conference rankings according to Kenpom per year since 1997. The Big 12 at 2.93, pretty close. Those are your top 2 conferences, 2.86, 2.93. And then you have 3 conferences, the ACC, the Big East, and the SEC, both in the 3s, 3.13 and 3.76, with the SEC at 3.96. And then you have a tie between the American at 7.92 and the Mountain West. The American is a new conference. There was a split between the Big East football and basketball members in 2013, 2014. So the American is a relatively new conference in the grand scheme of things. The Mountain West, 7.92. The Atlantic 10, on average, is ranked 8.80 in conference ranking according to Kenpom. And then the Missouri Valley at 10.43. The West Coast Conference at 11.20. So as of right now, those are your top 10 basketball conferences according to conference rankings, according to the averages over time, according to Kenpom. If there were the Pac-12, I'm pretty sure they would be probably somewhere in the maybe in the threes, possibly in the fours. I'm not sure, but they would definitely be considered among the power conferences. 11 through 20, CUSA, Conference USA. I mixed those up. MAC, the WAC's actually supposed to be ahead of the MAC, but it's okay. The Horizon League 15.30, Coastal at 15.93, the Big West, Sunbelt, Metro Atlantic, Summit, and Ivy League. Actually, that's going to bug me. We're going to move the WAC. There we go. So the WAC at 14.26 and the MAC at 14.40. And then we have, so that's 11 through 20. So CUSA at 11, the Ivy League and the Summit League both tied at 19.76. So it depends on who you want to put at 19 and who you want to put at 20. But basically, there's a tie right there between the Summit League and the Ivy League. 21 through 30, we have the SoCon at 21, 20.03, the Big Sky, Ohio Valley, America East, the Patriot League, the ASUN, the Southland, the Big South, the Northeast Conference, the MEAC, and then number 31 is the SWAC, the Southwestern Athletic Conference at 31.36. So on average, the SWAC is ranked 31st, 31.36 according to the averages that Kenpom has been releasing since 1997. So here's kind of how I formulated the rankings. So we're just going to use the Missouri Valley because this is my favorite conference because I went to Valpo. Valpo is my alma mater. Valpo joined after Wichita State left for the American. So according to Kenpom, the Missouri Valley was ranked number 9 for 2026, ranked 10th in both 2025 and 2024, 16th in 2023, 11, 10, 11, 15, 9, 10, 11, 12, 11, and down the list. There was a really good stretch of years for the Missouri Valley, ranked 7th in 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008. So this is kind of how I compiled the averages. So according to Kenpom, since 1997, I took the average of the conference rank according to Kenpom for all 31 conferences, the Atlantic 10, the ACC, America East, American, all the way through the SWAC, the WAC, and the West Coast Conference. So the conference history for Missouri Valley, the rankings according to Kenpom. So I did compile a spreadsheet that allowed me to kind of determine the averages. So I plugged in let's use the A10 as an example. In 2026, according to Kenpom, they were ranked 7th. They were ranked 8th in 2025, 8th in 2024, and then you keep going all the way to the very right-hand side. So according to Kenpom, all those rankings, we took the average of that, and on average, since 1997, the Atlantic 10 has ranked 8.8 in terms of rankings according to Kenpom. So let's use the ACC as another example, the Atlantic Coast Conference. They were ranked 4th in 2026, 5th in 2025, and 2024. And then you scroll all the way to the very right-hand side. So the ACC on average has been ranked 3.1 333 repeating itself. So I just simplified it to 3.13, and then you keep going down the list, and these are all the averages for all 31 conferences. So I highlighted a handful of conferences on here because the American and the Big East split again in 2013, 2014. So before 2014, the American didn't exist, so there's no data for it. But the Big East, so 2014 and afterwards, is a basketball only conference. So they're not sponsoring football anymore. So 2013 and earlier, the American didn't exist, and 2014 and after, the Big East is only sponsoring basketball. So it's shaded in green, and since the American was formed in 2013, 2014, there's no data for it. There is one more highlighted section, and that is for the Mountain West. Mountain West is also relatively new in the grand scheme of things. They were formed in 2000, so they don't have any data for 1997, 1998, and 1999. So these are the averages according to the conference rankings each year according to Kenpom. So we're going to move over to the Google Doc. The Atlantic 10, 8.8. The ACC, 3.13. America East, 24.63. The American, they've been around since 2013, 2014, so there's not a whole lot of sample size, but they've been pretty consistently ranked in the top 10, so their average is 7.92. The Big 10, 2.86. Big 12, 2.93. The Big East, 3.76. And again, there was a split in 2013, 2014 for football and basketball. The Missouri Valley is ranked on average 10.43, and that's my favorite conference because Valpo is my alma mater. So these are all the averages for each specific conference, from the A10 down to the West Coast Conference. And these are what they are in order. So 1 through 10, the Big 10 through the West Coast Conference, Big 10, Big 12, ACC, Big East, SEC, Mountain West, American are both tied at 7.92, the A10 at 8.8, the Missouri Valley at 10.43, and the West Coast at 11.20. With Conference USA ranked at 11th, not far behind. Conference USA 11.26, really, really close to the West Coast rank at 11.20. Again, we're going to move. There we go. The WAC at 14.26, the MAC at 14.40, Horizon, Coastal, Big West, Sunbelt, Metro Atlantic, the Summit League, and the Ivy League both tied at 19.76. SoCon, Big Sky, Ohio Valley, America East, Patriot League, Atlantic Sun, Southland, Big South, Northeast, Mideastern Athletic, and the Southwestern. So if we zoom out a little bit, so that's the full, that's the average rank that they would have on Kenpom since 1997. So the Big 10, the Big 12 at 1 and 2, and the bottom two being the MEAC and the SWAC, ranked 30th on average 30.43 and ranked on average 31.36. So I really like numbers. I really like compiling numbers. Spreadsheets I think are pretty interesting. I know that might sound a little strange, but I love numbers. I love crunching numbers, statistics, data, all of that. So you basically have almost 30 years of data for 31 conferences. So that's a lot of numbers you can see on the spreadsheet right here. And then used Google Sheets to help me with the averages. Yeah, I thought it was really fun. I mean, maybe that's just me, but so yeah, each year Kenpom ranks the conferences. So in 2026, the Missouri Valley was a top 10 conference because they were ranked 9th. Pretty consistent in the top 10, with the exception of a handful of years, 16th, 15th. Pretty average around the number 10 or 11 spot. 9. A really solid run of 4 years in a row of being ranked number 7. But yeah, 31 different conferences, 32 when the pack kind of comes back. So there is numbers 21 through 30, the SoCon through the MEAC, 11 through 20, CUSA through a tie for 19 and 20, Summit League and Ivy League, and then the top. Those are your top 10 conferences according to Kenpom. We take the average of their yearly rank over the course of time. So the Big Ten at 2.86 at 1, and the West Coast Conference at 10 at 11.20. So if we go back to that is all of the averages for each of the 31 conferences since 1997, according to Kenpom's yearly rankings of each conference. So I don't know. I like crunching numbers. I think it was fun. So hopefully you enjoyed looking at this as well as much as I did. I know I had a great time crunching numbers and looking at all the numbers, but yeah, this is the current rankings. I'm really excited because the pack is coming back. The pack, Oregon State, Washington State are the pack 2, and then taking 5 from the Mountain West, 1 from the Sun Belt, and then Gonzaga from the West Coast Conference. So once the pack comes back, there will be 32 conferences. So I'm actually really excited to crunch the numbers for the pack because I'm sure they're for sure in the top 10. I'm not sure where they would rank. They probably would rank maybe 5, 6, or 7 in the rankings here, but again, I'm not sure. I don't have the numbers to crunch for the pack as of right now. So these are the averages for each conference according to how Kenpom ranks them every year. So with that, that's the end of the video. Thank you all for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it as much as I did creating it, and I will see you all in the next video. Deuces.